Hello, everybody. My name is Alane Freund. I'm an international consultant on high sensitivity, and I'm jumping here on social media live today, and maybe you will see this as a recording later, to talk about two of the highly sensitive person's five to thrive. Without a doubt, the five to thrive are life-changing for highly sensitive people. I cannot encourage you strongly enough to embrace them and to go with it. So let me toss the five out, and then I'm going to tell you the two I'm talking about today because they directly relate to my programs called sensitivity circles. Sensitivity circles are online small circles, generally 4 to 8, sometimes more people, depending on who's facilitating and what the topic is. Everyone is together on the screen, and it's something, 70% of highly sensitive people are introverts, and it's something that we just like, I'm not sure I really want to do it. But because of the five to thrive, you must. My sensitivity circles have a sustainable economy, as do all my master classes. So that means, in the old lingo, sliding scale. But the way it works is there are several different price points that you can pay. And if we all pay at our highest ability to pay, then we sustain our community so that people who are experiencing financial hardship can pay less and still make use of these programs that we're offering at Are You Highly Sensitive? So the highly sensitive person's five to thrive, giving people a chance to sign on here. The first one is to understand the trait that we have as highly sensitive people, to understand sensory processing sensitivity, and not only to understand it and know about it, but to actually believe it is real and to acknowledge that you have it. So you got to really look into the research. There's plenty of opportunities. The best and easiest and quickest way to identify, in my opinion, is to go watch my talk at Google, Alane Freund talk at Google, Understanding the Highly Sensitive Person. In about 20 minutes, I lay down the research, and you will know pretty much right away if this applies to you or not. And you can also go to hsperson.com and take the self-test if the talk at Google leaves you with some questions or curiosities about it. You can also go to my blog, alanefriend.com/blog, and look at the Are You Highly Sensitive blog, where I'm just free writing and extemporaneous writing about things that apply to highly sensitive people, just whatever's coming out of my mind. I've been a family therapist and working with families clinically for more than 3 decades, and have worked closely with highly sensitive people and with Elaine Aron for more than a decade. Of course, I've been working closely with highly sensitive people for over 5 decades because I am one and I come from a family full of them. So the first one, know the trait is real, believe you have it, and really understand it. The second and third of the highly sensitive person five to thrive are reframe the past in light of the fact that you have the trait, especially reframing your childhood. And 3, heal from past trauma. We generally find that almost everyone who is highly sensitive has trauma in their past because we experience things as traumatic that people without the trait might not even experience as traumatic. They might just be bleeps on the timeline of their life, but for us, they might be trauma. So we must heal past trauma. That takes some professional work. Finally, number 4, not finally, because there are 5. Number 4 is to design a life compatible with being highly sensitive, or for parents with raising highly sensitive children, design a family life that's compatible with the child's sensitivity. And the 5th one is to be in community with other highly sensitive people. So today, for sensitivity circles, I'm talking about number 1 and number 5. Number 1 and number 5. And I want to tell you that these don't actually have an order. They are all equally important in my mind. But in this talk, we're talking about number 1 and number 5. Why is community so important? Knowing others like you, especially when you are in some way unique, is something that creates much greater resilience. No. If you have something that's different about you and you feel terminally unique, nobody ever really understands you. You're the only person in your community, the only person your family knows or that you know that is like you. That can be very debilitating and have a negative impact on your functioning in life. So this one's not unique. None of these things are actually particularly wild are out there. They, remember what's good for highly sensitive people is good for all people. So everyone who can do these things around whatever their life story is going to thrive more. But I'm going to be really strong here. And I'm going to say they're life and death for highly sensitive people, because without a doubt, stress kills. And we need to take care of ourselves so that we're not living in too much stress. Okay, so why sensitivity circles? I created these programs because I wanted to be able to create a contained, facilitated environment for highly sensitive people to come and find others like them, sharing many aspects of their life with them, and to be facilitated and coached by someone who's very, very experienced at doing that. So as a psychotherapist, I've been leading groups and working with families, like I said, for many, many years, more than half my life. And because of that, I will hold space. I will hold your heart and mind with tender care in this community. So even though jumping on the screen, going into a group of new people might be the last thing you feel like doing some days as a highly sensitive person, like I said, especially you introverts, it might be extra hard for you. It's probably one of the most important things that you can do for yourself. So come, because we're going to really dig in each circle to how the trait impacts that unique population that the circle is geared toward. And we're going to also create that kind of community, that seeing and being seen. And everyone who's ever come to a sensitivity circle pretty much has written me a letter or an email or a note in the chat saying, wow, I feel so empowered and ennobled by being seen and sharing in this circle with others like me. So we have 3 sensitivity circles that pretty much happen every month. And then we have some that happen more periodically. And so I'm going to tell you what the themes of sensitivity circles are. See what you think. And you can always jump on my website, alanefriend.com/events, and check them out and find one that might work for you. Or send me an email through the contact form and ask for one that would work for you. So one that's not happening right now, but I love doing, and usually this one goes weekly for 5 weeks, but sometimes it goes periodically as well, is highly sensitive professionals, or HSPs, at work. And that is, you can imagine if you're working with your sensitivity and it's impacting you in your work life, how great it would be to have just a sweet little group of other highly sensitive professionals to talk about tools and skills and ask questions. Well, every month we have the highly sensitive parents, or parenting sensitivity. The parents aren't necessarily all highly sensitive, though, since it runs in families, usually they are, most of them are. But we talk in that sensitivity circle about raising children who are highly sensitive and the challenges of it. And I mean, we'll have people there with a 6-month-old infant, a 3-year-old, an 8 or 9-year-old. That's a big time that, well, I'm telling you, every 2 years, there's a new big developmental issue with highly sensitive children that challenges parents. I'm going to say right up through early adulthood. And sometimes we have parents of teens and parents of tweens and parents of 7 to 9-year-olds and parents of toddlers and preschoolers. And even, like I said, sometimes a parent of an infant. And just the wild thing about this sensitivity circle is I'm just astounded by this. You might think these parents don't have anything in common. Wow, we all have so much in common, because what we need as highly sensitive people, and all the different ages of highly sensitive children need, it's pretty much the same. It just looks slightly different as they go through child development. So I love this circle. I love supporting parents, because the sensitive children of the world are the most important people. Because if we can impact their childhood and make it better than mine was, and probably better than yours was, we will change the world, because they will grow up without the shame, feeling ennobled and empowered. Okay, I'm going off on the parent one. Another one that I have, a highly sensitivity circle that I have, is highly sensitive women in the later years of life. It's called Wise Women in Wonder. And this meets almost every month on the first Sunday of the month. Occasionally a holiday will cause us to reschedule, but the first Sunday of the month, the wise women come on the computer, and we have a really deep, rich conversation. And in all sensitivity circles, whoever shows up makes the topic. I usually come with a small theme that we use for introductions, but after that, I just ask everyone, what are their questions? What are their issues? What are your concerns? What are your scenarios? We brainstorm the list, and then we break the time up and we talk about them. And of course, I'm sharing my experience, strength and hope, and my wisdom from all my years of clinical work and all the research and science, but we all share our experience, strength, and hope with each other. So Wise Women in Wonder, that's a very fun one. Another one that is relatively new is called Rainbow Canaries, and it's for LGBTQ plus highly sensitive people. That's a unique population. And we, as at HSQ, as my colleague Brian Torres, he leads that sensitivity circle with me, and he coined the idea of HSQ, highly sensitive queer. And HSQs are really needing to be leaders. We take that emotional leadership that all highly sensitive people have, but then you take it out and add on to it another layer of diversity and another kind of uniqueness. And someone said in the last Rainbow Canaries Circle that they really loved being in a multi-generational LGBTQ plus community. And on top of that, everyone being highly sensitive. It was really such a beautiful conversation and discussion. And in that last circle, we talked about activism and what does it mean for a highly sensitive person to be an activist. And there are two other highly sensitivity circles that are offered periodically. So reach out to me if you're hankering for one. One is for highly sensitive people in relationships. That's hot on the topics right now because I'm recording this in February, and we just had our master class on highly sensitive people and love. The subtitle of that class was called HSPs in Love, Making Relationships Work When even a cave sounds good. Like you're not sure you even want to be in your relationship or in a relationship in the moment when you're overwhelmed, of course. So highly sensitive people try to live in relationships, romantic and others, because we go deep with our relationships, but we also process and have such strong feelings that they come with challenges. Now, again, everybody has challenges with relationships. Highly sensitive people, we have extra challenges because we're so involved in our relationships. So highly sensitive people in relationships is a sensitivity circle. And finally, the other one that we have periodically is highly sensitive youth, or I call them sensitive youth. Sensitive youth during the pandemic needed to be on screens less, not more. But now they're going to school, teens, tweens, and young adults. They're getting to be, in person in more of their life. And so we're starting up the sensitive youth circles again. And I hope that those will become monthly soon. So listen, if a sensitivity circle sort of tickles your fancy and you believe me about the highly sensitive person's 5 to Thrive, that you need education on the trait, you need to be able to talk about it, wear that badge with pride. I always say, fly my freak flag high. And you want to really embrace the fact that this is your life and you want to live it fully. And the other 5 to Thrive, number 5, that you want to be in community. You believe, Elaine, Aaron, and myself, when we tell you that you need to be in community to thrive as a highly sensitive person with others like you. And I hear from HSPs all the time that they can't find that person, or those people. Where's my sensitivity circle in my life? And it can be hard to find them because many of us are kind of holding up. Me, I'd like to just go up top and sit in my barn, put my feet up on the fence and wait for you to find me. And it's not the most effective way to build my circle. So often people in our circles, if they want to, they share their email addresses and make friends with people who come and make contact between the circles. It's a beautiful thing. I would love to see you there. And the whole reason that I do sensitivity circles is to help highly sensitive people have community and thrive, and to be able to share and take your questions. Even every masterclass I teach, I do live Q&A. So when you have questions for me, bring them. I would love to answer them. Even if you have questions here about this recording, ask me. Often I make a YouTube video about questions that people ask me. I want to just share as much information as I can with the world. And your questions make my content so much better. So I love your questions. Please bring them on Instagram, bring them on YouTube, bring them on Facebook, and even better, come to some of my events and bring them there. So I hope that you will subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me on Instagram or wherever you find my content, and all the more, share it. If you know an HSP who needs community, share this video with them. Maybe they'll find just the right sensitivity circle for them. Thank you so much for listening in live, for those of you who are here, and for those of you seeing the recording later. I really appreciate you checking this out and being a part of the Are You Highly Sensitive community. This is Alane Freund, and I value you and support you, and I'm sending my open-hearted, deep love to you through the airwaves. Bye for now. Thank you so much for listening. Okay, good. A question came up on Instagram while we were doing a live, and I'm just going to go ahead and talk about this topic a little bit, and it'll be a separate recording. So if you can hang out, how can we separate HSP and ADHD, and what are the differences between them? This comes up all the time. I've got a couple videos on YouTube, so put in Alane Freund HSP, ADHD, or Alane Freund neurodiversity, and you can hear some of my controversial talking about this. This is so important. It's huge. And I can't tell you the number of highly sensitive people I know or talk to or hear from that are diagnosed ADHD. And then when I talk to them in detail, I find that I really don't think that's their true diagnosis. Now, most people feel and see, mental health professionals, educational professionals, medical professionals, they know about ADHD, attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder. It's in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. It's easily diagnosed, easily treated with medication, diet, lots of things. It's a great diagnosis because there are hard and fast answers to it. The problem is that highly sensitive people, when they are overstimulated, look like ADHD or ADD, attention deficit disorder. Now, recently I made a short video with Julie Kuzmariu about ADD and HSP, so check that one out. And we'll put that, if you're seeing this on YouTube, we'll put that link in the notes below. But we often, you will hear in my house, you will hear me say, ADD often. Now, attention deficit disorder is not actually a diagnosis anymore. So we can use ADD as, lay terminology because it's not an actual diagnosis. But what we want to say about ADD is, yes, when I'm overstimulated, overwhelmed, I can't focus on anything. I'm just a scatterbrained. I'm a farm girl, so what comes to mind is, that chicken analogy to when you're really scatterbrained. I won't say it because we're HSPs and we don't want that image in our heads, but I am so ADD so much of the time, but I don't have to be. So when I get just the right recipe for living my life in a healthy way, I exercise enough, I eat enough protein, I eat less sugar, less caffeine, and I sleep and meditate, the things that make you your best self. I'm not ADD. I can focus. I bet you can too if you're HSP. I can really zone in and pay attention and go deep with a topic or researching on the computer or one-on-one with you. I'm going to look into your eyes and hear your story if you're someone I care about that can go deep with me. That's not attention deficit, and that's not ADHD. Now, that's the difference. If you actually have ADHD, you can't easily get so focused, right? Or maybe in certain areas, you've learned to make your brain more linear, and that's really great. But the vast majority of highly sensitive people are not actually ADHD. And you might say, well, what happened to ADD? I don't want to go too much into this because I talked about this with Julie Kuzmariu again on the YouTube video, which is also, I'm pretty sure, in my Instagram feed. It's called now ADHD inattentive type. Like when you're overwhelmed or overstimulated, aren't you inattentive? And remember, that's one of our characteristics because of all the deep processing, all the strong emotional reactions, and all the noticing of subtleties. We are often overwhelmed. And all you can do about overwhelm is prevent it. So if you're preventing overwhelm, I'll bet you $100 you do not have attention deficit. And a few of you might. Now, here's a really good differential diagnosis. What you can do is tell me right now in the comments or the chat, what does, is it called chat? You know what I mean? In the comments, what does caffeine do to you? One of the questions on the Are You Highly Sensitive test, self-test, is are you sensitive to caffeine or something like that? It's about caffeine impacting you. I mean, if I have caffeine after noon, I'm very sensitive. If I have caffeine after noon, I will be up until potentially midnight or 1 a.m. It's so stimulating to my brain, and I'm very sensitive to it. If I have ADHD, a stimulant will calm me down, give me more focus. Maybe, I mean, of course, like when you first get that shot of caffeine, you can focus like crazy, right? Someone says here, it pumps my heart up a lot. Yes, that's what it does to me too. If I have too much, I can actually get jittery, feel like I'm having an anxiety or even eventually a panic attack. That's what stimulants do to highly sensitive people and people without ADHD. So how is ADHD treated? It's treated with medications that are stimulants. So I'll tell you a brief story about a young woman I know, 28 years old, diagnosed as a young child with ADHD and medicated with stimulants throughout her childhood and teens. Guess how she experienced her life? Almost constant overstimulation and anxiety. Another teenager I know, diagnosed with ADHD and treated with stimulants, could not sleep without double the full adult dose of Benadryl each night. Did the doctors and psychiatrists ever think, hey, I wonder if the ADHD medication is stimulating her so much that her brain can never settle down? If that's your experience on stimulants, then there's a really, really great chance that you're not ADHD. So I'm going to give you one more thing for the children, and this also works for you adult HSPs. And then I'll stop. Oh, I probably keep going. I could talk forever because I'm an HSP. So if you are overstimulated a good deal of the time, you have been diagnosed with, or you think you have ADHD or inattentive ADD, then, and you are spending a lot of time on screens, do not use the medication before you cut the screens way down. Put that app on, put an app on your phone, put an app on your kids' phone. This is especially true for children. People call me all the time. They want treatment. They want medication. I don't prescribe medication, but I work with a psychiatrist who can. And I love psychiatric medical treatment. It's so easy and helpful. And I often recommend antidepressants, especially very low doses for HSPs, because it works with anxiety and depression. If you get the right one, it can be really quite amazing. But if we diagnose a child with ADHD and we have not taken them off the screens to find out what happens when their brain has the ability to settle and calm down, then it's irresponsible to put them on medication without first removing the caffeine, the sugar, and the screens, without first requiring them, getting them into some serious nature and exercise. Does the overstimulation, the ADHD appearing behavior go away when we design a life compatible with being a human in the world? Forget being compatible with being highly sensitive. It's compatible with humanity. There's a lot of research now about nature-based education, forest bathing, do more time in nature, put your feet on the ground, go barefoot on the ground. There's so much great advice, and now there's research backing it. This is what's good for humanity. But you know what it is? Once again, I'm going to say this very extreme statement. It's life and death for highly sensitive people. We have to be exercising and moving in nature and limiting our time on screens. So, heal thyself. Alane, get the heck off of YouTube and Instagram. So I'll give you one more little anecdote. Have you ever experienced, like me, that you turn on the computer because you're just going to look up one thing? You're going to look up that great book someone told you about, or how you could see that TV show, or you just need to reply to one email. And then 30 minutes or 3 hours later, you're still on the screen. You know what I'm talking about, HSPs? Give me a heads up if you do in the comments, because that is overstimulation. So if it's happening to the adults, you can only imagine what is happening to younger minds that are still developing. So I invite you with my whole heart and soul, heart and mind, with every part of my being, to take better care of yourself and to make your kids take better care of them. And watch out for that ADHD thing. I want you to be a discriminating consumer. Ask lots of questions. Educate your educational professionals, medical professionals, mental health professionals about this trait. There's lots of information out there. Check out my talk at Google, Understanding the Highly Sensitive Person. Of course, we must all read Elaine Aron's books and watch her films at sensitivethemovie.com. Find out about all of that. But it's really, really, really great to just find a short little soundbite and share it with the professionals who are a little confused, who you need to educate. Maybe also the family members and the grandparents who are telling you that you're a terrible parent because your child is acting out. So let's educate, educate, educate. And I think, the talk at Google, I did it almost 4 years ago now, and in 2019. And I look back on it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I'd done this, 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 and this. But they have a very strict format. And so it's short. A lot of stuff out there isn't short. And that's why it's a great way to educate professionals and millennials who need short little sound bites. So please let me know what other questions I can answer for you. And I started this whole conversation out today talking about sensitivity circles and coming and getting some support. So I really care about you, and my mission in the world is to reach every highly sensitive person, and most especially the sensitive youth, because I want to change their experience of growing up in a world that most likely does not embrace their sensitivity. We can change this. We can change how they grow up. Let's get rid of these messed up diagnoses. We are more likely to have mental illnesses, especially depression and anxiety, if we grow up in a stressful environment. We don't get our needs met, just basic parenting needs as highly sensitive people. But if we have good enough parenting, we are far less than. No, that's all there is. So I'm Alane Freund, your international consultant on high sensitivity. Please like, subscribe, follow, and share. Most importantly, share my content when you see it. If you think of somebody who would benefit from it, or just post it on your social media, please, because we need to get the word out. So HSPs, let's go out there, heal the youth, and change the world. Thank you so much for listening. This is Alane Freund, and I'm out for now. Ciao.